Hey guys, welcome and ting. And today we're gonna be watching one. Someone sent this to me, and they said that I should check it out. This is World War II from the Romanian perspective, and it's an animated vibe that's gonna go down here. So let's go ahead and YouTube and simmer and hear what the Romanian perspective during the World War is. Let's go.
After the First World War, Romania was awarded new territories despite suffering military defeats at the hands of the Central Powers. The map was redrawn not due to its victories, but through the defeats of its enemies. This turn of fortune, however, would later become their undoing. The collapse of the Austro-Hungarian and Russian empires allowed Romania concessions to lands rich in national heritage, effectively doubling its territory. This dramatic expansion was more than a geopolitical shift. It was the fulfillment of the long-cherished dream of a greater Romania. However, these newly acquired regions each came at the cost of ethnic division and brewing geopolitical tensions. Suddenly, Hungarian, Bulgarian, Ukrainian, Jewish, Romani, and German minorities comprised about 30% of the population. In some of the newly acquired areas, Romanians themselves were in the minority. Diplomatically, Romania's expansion led to entanglements with neighboring countries. Hungary coveted Transylvania's return.
You know what's interesting about it, and here's the thing that's really interesting here. The country there was put together with different peoples, different nationalities, and quite possibly ethnicities. Now, here's something that I thought of the other day while I was just thinking about it. Now, in Romania, there and a lot in Europe, people seem to think that all those people are the same because of the color of their skin. They think they all are the same. But then watching this, you could tell that there's different ethnicities and tribes or clans or nationalities of people that are all in that one spot. Thus, understandably, all the conflict and turmoil and stuff that happened there because you have all these people living in one spot. Now, when you take a look at America, it's easier to differentiate the different peoples because then they're all different. They look different. Like you have black people, you have Indian people, you have people from the Arabic people, you have just different ethnicities altogether. It's very distinct, so you could tell the difference, and it's easy for people to discriminate on sight. Now, having said that, you probably could tell the difference because they live in that area, in that region for so many years. They probably could tell the difference between each other, even though they might be the same skin color. That's kind of interesting there. So that, in the back of your mind, you're thinking, well, why don't they get along? Because they all look alike, not going deeper into the intricacies of the differences and things. You understand what I'm saying? And that's quite interesting to think about it, which kind of makes the whole black, white, Asian, Arabic, and all that different stuff kind of obsolete to a certain degree because even in Africa, Africans could tell the difference between one tribe to the next by just looking at them. But they're all the same color. A lot of people look at it like that. And I know as a kid growing up, not understanding all of that, that's the way I look at it. Especially if you feel like a victim, it's hard to sympathize with somebody's plight if you think they all look alike. What's the deal here? You understand what I mean? The only thing you're thinking that could cause a problem there is ideology and religion. However, they know how one should look if one belongs to their clan, tribe, or something like that. And I'm not just talking about clothes, I'm talking about actual biological features and stuff like that. You understand what I mean? That is so weird to think of. Let's keep going.
Bulgaria aimed to regain southern Dobruja, and the Soviet Union set its sights on Bessarabia. Given this precarious situation, border security became a top priority. The Romanian government thought that their best chance of securing these borders was through joining the League of Nations, alongside aligning with France's Eastern European security system. To counter Hungarian threats, Romania also allied with Yugoslavia and Czechoslovakia to form the Little Entente in 1920. A mutual defense treaty with Poland in 1921 aimed to safeguard against the Soviet Union. However, the 1930s brought a resurgence of German and Soviet power. Germany backed Hungarian claims on Transylvania, while the Soviet Union, coveting Bessarabia, was viewed as an unreliable ally due to Romania's strong anti-communist sentiment. The Second World War was a conflict unlike any other in human history, forcing many of the smaller powers, like Romania, to choose between the Axis or the Allies. Thanks to the sponsor of today's video, Call of War, you can choose.
You see, this is the thing people don't understand, okay? If they're superpowers, and for the last few years here, we've had two major ones, Russia and America. And when the wars start, depending on where you are, you got to choose a side. And sometimes, you have to choose a side that you think is going to be best for your own people. Or you are forced into choosing a side. Like, I'll give you an example. We had a revolution, and this is the anniversary of our revolution in our country is coming up here, March the 13th, 1979 was our revolution. The two superpowers that were prevalent during that time, was America and Russia. The prime minister before the revolution was Friends of America. As a matter of fact, he exiled himself in America after the revolution. And it's kind of odd because I remember after the American invasion, I came up here and my mom was part of the government before the revolution. And they were still having like parties and stuff for him in New York. And me and my ex-wife went to one with my mom. And I remember that. But check this out. Now, when we had our revolution, Ronald Reagan was president in America. One of the first things our prime ministers did, the new prime minister, the revolutionary prime minister, he reached out to America. And they're like, well, no, we can't be your friend. We're friends with him. And then here comes Russia. We shall be your savior. At the time, two superpowers, little bitty country. I could walk my whole country in a day. They came and they said, well, we'll do this and we'll do that and we'll do the other. Most of us weren't communists or socialists or anything like that. So they aligned with them. That, I'll be honest with you, that didn't work well for us at all. I mean, we didn't have as much tragedy as, let's say, Romania and stuff, and I think it's because we were so far from Russia, but here they were there. And at one point, it was a rumor, per se, you know what I mean, that the Russians were giving us arms and taking our agricultural products and, our natural resources and stuff like that. And people fail to realize that, you know what I mean? You get put between a rock and a hard place. You got to make a decision that's best, that you think is best for your people, otherwise your people will suffer. And sometimes it's not the right decision. That's just the way things are, I guess. You know what I'm saying? Let's keep going.
To your side without worrying about the imminent threat of invasion from your real-life neighbors. Call of War is a free online PvP strategy game that lets you choose a real country and lead them to victory in the Second World War. Declare war on your neighbors, forge alliances, trade with allies, and engage in huge, weeks-long 100-player matches on both PC and mobile devices using a huge array of units and weapons. One of my favorite aspects of the game is the complete and total victory. Support our channel by clicking the link in the description to sign up for Call of War. If you join within the next 30 days, you'll receive 13,000 gold and 1 month of premium subscription for free. France, a key ally of Romania, appeared increasingly powerless against German aggression, beginning with Hitler's remilitarization of the Rhineland in 1936. Similarly, the League of Nations appeared ineffective. Isolated and seeking a powerful backer, Romania cautiously shifted its stance toward Germany. The Führer, requiring Romanian oil for Germany's impending war efforts, redirected Hungary's focus to Czechoslovakia. thus temporarily reducing tensions with Romania. Hitler also made conciliatory gestures, promising to respect Romania's borders in exchange for economic cooperation. Despite strengthening ties with Germany, Romania maintained a balanced foreign policy, preserving good relations with France and establishing new connections with Great Britain, seen as a counterbalance to France's diminishing influence. Against the backdrop of shifting alliances, two pivotal forces dominated Romania's internal politics: King Carol II and the radical Iron Guard. King Carol ascended to the throne in 1930 under unusual circumstances and aimed to consolidate power, aspiring toward a royal dictatorship. His rule deepened internal conflicts, especially regarding ethnic minorities. In contrast to Carol's tolerance of diverse ethnicities, the Iron Guard strongly opposed moderate views on minorities. This fascist organization, emerging from a group of nationalist university students, criticized the political system for being too accommodating toward Jews and Hungarians.
See, I'm thinking about this, you're watching this, and a lot of those ideas come from students with radical ideas and stuff like that. And I'm thinking here, there's a big thing here in this country now where a lot of the politicians, especially on the Republican side, are saying, don't send your kids to college. They're going to become radicalized by those liberals, and then everybody's going to do what they want, and there's going to be chaos and stuff like that. History has taught them something. If kids go to school and get an education, no, I take that back. If they go to college and get educated, then they might start thinking. And if they start thinking, they might go, we're going to have to make some changes here. And they could actually follow through with the changes because they're educated enough to do so. So they tell people, don't go to college. So now all these people are running around here. They're not college educated. They know there's a change to be made, but they don't have the capacity to enact those changes and maintain those changes. So they keep voting for certain people who promise them those changes. You see what I'm saying? So they can't win for losing. Now, the thing about not going to college is, and they think, go to a trade school. That way that their kids would always be the worker bees. But the rich politicians who are telling them don't go to college, they went to Yale and Harvard and Columbia and all those Ivy League colleges. And they pay, and a bunch of them got in trouble for paying these colleges so the children could go there because the children didn't qualify. It's keeping the children up and your children down if you're poor, you know what I mean? And another thing I've noticed too is going to college, people get an education. They don't get educated. They go to college so they could get a better job. They don't go to college to become enlightened. You understand what I'm saying? They go to university to become enlightened. So, and then here in Romania, the radical university students are the ones that started that radical revolution. Let's keep going.
It advocated for a Romania centered on ethnic Romanians and proposed a radical, brutal solution to the minority problem, purifying the nation by eliminating those they viewed as undesirable, with a particular focus on Jews, whom they accused of undue influence and ties to the Soviet Union. The tension between King...
No, I'm not saying they got enlightened. They look like they got brainwashed into thinking that something is somebody else is the problem. Which is kind of interesting because it's easier to tell people who haven't had a university degree here that the other is the problem. However, college people do the same thing too. University students do the same thing too. It's their problem. It's those poor people's problem. It's their fault that this is happening, instead of enlightening them as to what really is going on. Let's get going here. And I'm talking about here, you know what I mean? It's a different situation from there.
Carol's authoritarian ambitions and the Iron Guard's radical nationalism led to a volatile political climate in Romania. The Iron Guard, seeing an increasingly powerful rival in Carol II, engaged in a power struggle, directly challenging the king's authority. This internal conflict unfolded as Romania's external alliances wavered, illustrating a nation struggling with its identity and direction at the very moment Europe was descending into war. Even before German armies stormed into Poland in September 1939, Romania strived for neutrality. Following the Munich Agreement in 1938, it had secured a commitment to its independence from both Great Britain and France, similar to Poland's guarantee. However, Romania's position during the early stages of the war was a delicate balancing act. While leaning toward the west, Romania welcomed Polish refugees, yet simultaneously inked beneficial trade agreements with Germany under threat of conflict, much to the Allies' dismay. Internally, King Carol opposed the Iron Guard, even though he employed similar paramilitary and anti-Semitic tactics. His abolishment of the 1923 Constitution strengthened his grip on power. However, tensions escalated when Carol ordered the execution of Iron Guard leader Corneliu Codraniu in 1938, prompting the group to assassinate Prime Minister Armand Călinescu in 1939. In retaliation, Carol then executed hundreds of Iron Guard members. These efforts to suppress the fascist movement were complicated by geopolitical shifts in the summer of 1940. With France, a crucial ally, succumbing to German invasion, Carol turned to Germany for support, softening his position against the Iron Guard and implementing anti-Semitic laws. Oblivious to the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact, Romania was confronted with Soviet demands for Bessarabia and northern Bukovina. Under German pressure, Romania ceded these territories, resulting in the capture of over 40,000 Romanian troops stationed there. Smelling blood, Hungary and Bulgaria then pressed their own territorial claims on Romania. To maintain regional stability, Hitler brokered the Second Vienna Award in August 1940, resulting in Romania ceding northern Transylvania to Hungary and southern Dobrija to Bulgaria. This territorial cession in 1940 soon sparked a political crisis, undermining King Carol's authority. In an attempt to stabilize his reign, Carol appointed General Ion Antonescu as prime minister. Though this soon backfired, as Antonescu ousted the king in a coup d'etat, forming a new government with the Iron Guard in September 1940. The fragile coalition between General Antonescu and the Iron Guard crumbled quickly. Their government, fixated on excluding Jews from Romanian society, saw a clash in approaches. Antonescu favored a systematic exploitation of Jewish properties, whereas the Iron Guard, in disarray from previous purges, resorted to anarchic violence against Jews and other minorities. This culminated in a horrific pogrom in January 1941, where the Iron Guard's rebellion in Bucharest led to unspeakable acts of violence against Romanian Jews. Antonescu, more concerned about lawlessness and his authority, quashed the uprising and expelled the Iron Guard from power. Antonescu's purge of the Iron Guard did not leave Jews any safer, however. Instead, his regime perpetrated widespread massacres and deportations in Bessarabia, Bukovina, and Transnistria. This Romanian-led genocide, separate from the Nazis' final solution, resulted in the deaths of hundreds of thousands of Jews. Characterized by its brutality and efficiency, these actions reflected the deep-seated anti-Semitism of the time and Romania's willingness to autonomously persecute Jews, far from Nazi coercion.
No, you see, the more I get into the history of it, the more of this region, oh man, it's complicated, ain't it? There's just so much going on there, especially during the First and the Second World War. But I understand the dark painting of the way it is there. That sort of transcends time and people not really knowing what it's like in Romania and Serbia and Bulgaria and all of that. It seems like it's a lingering effect of what people were taught to have happened during the war. Of course, they're looking at what the government did. They're not really looking at what the people thought at the time. So then you look at the government, and they go, oh man, they did this, they did that. And the people must have aided and abetted that. But when people feel powerless and there's nothing they could do, they can't speak up, they're going to get executed, they can't do anything. What is somebody to do? So then the stereotype sort of stuck. And it's kind of odd that Germany was able to sort of ease out of that really bad stereotype, but the Balkan area there haven't. And people still have this dark image of that region. I don't know if it's because of recent, fighting and conflict and stuff that's going on there. But in order to understand the conflicts that are going on, you have to understand the history that it's coming from. You know, all these other powers that are coming around there and trying to dictate what this place should be or what the ethnicity of this place should be, and just all outside interference and thing. You know what I'm saying? It's just crazy and it's lingering. You know what I mean? Because even when I start talking about Bulgaria and stuff like that, the people that I work with and other people, they still have that dark image, you know what I mean? And I'm trying to explain to them, and it's just people living there. They live in paycheck to paycheck just like us. Cost of living is going up, you know what I mean? And they're having the same type of struggles. We're not that different. You can't let the past totally and absolutely affect what you think of people now. Things change. People see the world different, you know what I'm saying? They want to live differently than they were in the past. And a lot of people aren't giving them an opportunity to. It's the same thing with Africa. Even to this day, people still talk about cannibals in Africa. And I'm not saying they weren't. There's been cannibals all over this world. In Europe, Africa, wherever you are, there's been cannibals. You know, so you can't look down on people and say, well, they were cannibals, because all of humankind has had that in their history. Nobody's been so enlightened that they haven't done that. You know what I'm saying? But it's time we change that narrative, you know, and let people start seeing the people that live there, you know what I mean? And not so much the politics that once dominated that region, or the people in that region. Let's keep going.
Aligning closely with Nazi Germany, Antonescu permitted German troop movements through Romania for campaigns against Yugoslavia and Greece. Esteemed by Hitler, Antonescu's regime gained stability and stronger ties with Germany after removing the Iron Guard. His ultimate aim was to recover Romania's lost territories, especially northern Transylvania, still controlled by Hungary. By supporting Germany's war effort against the Soviet Union, Antonescu hoped to leverage his loyalty and persuade Germany to compel Hungary into returning northern Transylvania back to Romania. Joining Operation Barbarossa on June 22, 1941, Romania committed more troops than all of Germany's other allies combined, with nearly 900,000 men by October. The campaign's early success included reclaiming Bessarabia and northern Bukovina from Soviet control, sparking public jubilation in Romania. Romanian soldiers, often motivated by aspirations to restore pre-war borders and indoctrinated to believe they were fighting Judeo-Bolshevism, were initially enthusiastic. For some, this fervor was rooted in a mix of religious fervency and prevalent anti-Semitic and anti-communist sentiments. After recapturing Bessarabia, Romania, urged by Germany, pressed further into the Soviet Union. General Antonescu, driven by the ambition to reclaim further lost territories, approved sending Romanian forces into the arduous siege of Odessa from August to October 1941. Confronted with robust Soviet defenses, the Romanian army relied on traditional infantry tactics, facing high casualties and strategic challenges. The siege, marked by intense combat and significant Soviet counteroffensive, underscored the Romanian military's limitations. German air support became crucial, especially in countering Soviet advances, highlighting Romania's dependence on its Axis allies in this critical campaign. The fall of Odessa led to a heinous pogrom against Jews by Romanian troops. Declared the capital of the new Transnistria Governorate, the city experienced severe oppression under its Romanian occupiers. The primarily Ukrainian region suffered from food extraction and forced labor, and also served as a dumping ground for deported Romanian Jews, with up to 120,000 dying in the harsh winter of 1941 to 42. These actions reflected Romania's independent policies rather than German coercion. The pace of advance slowed into 1942, yet Antonescu committed more troops, notably in Crimea and the Caucasus, aiming for Stalingrad. In the grim winter of 1942, Romanian troops, aligned with Germany in the Battle of Stalingrad, faced a dire situation. Under-equipped and thinly manned, with divisions like the 1st Infantry operating at a mere quarter of their required strength, they confronted a relentless Soviet offensive. Fierce artillery barrages and brutal cold of -20 Celsius battered the Romanian lines. Their anti-tank guns, largely ineffective against Soviet armor, left them relying on grenades and Molotov cocktails. Despite initial resistance, they faced retreat or encirclement. The General Lascar Group, encircled and refusing surrender, was decimated, with only a single battalion managing a desperate escape. The 4th Romanian Army, trapped in the encirclement at Calac-na-Danu, witnessed 6 infantry divisions and a cavalry division fall. The aftermath of Stalingrad was devastating. Romania suffered 181,000 casualties. This number represented 16 of the 18 engaged divisions, amounting to half of its active military forces. Additionally, the Romanian Air Corps lost 73 aircraft. A subsequent Soviet counteroffensive further devastated Romania's military capabilities, severely weakening its frontline forces by February 1943. Post-Stalingrad, the alliance between Germany and Romania began to deteriorate. The Germans unfairly blamed the Romanians for the setback, which fueled increasing skepticism in Romania about the outcome of the war. Although the Romanian army, greatly weakened by the Stalingrad disaster, received modern German equipment, it was not enough to make up for the substantial losses in manpower and materiel. In 1943, while much of the Romanian army retreated back home, some units remained, notably around 66,000 soldiers in Crimea for anti-partisan operations. Their evacuation, delayed by Hitler's refusal, began only in April 1944 amidst a Soviet offensive, resulting in further Romanian casualties. By spring 1944, the conflict reached Romanian soil. A Soviet offensive in March pushed German and Romanian forces from Ukrainian territories and parts of Bukovina and Bessarabia. Temporary German support stabilized the front, but the Soviets' August offensive shattered the Romanian units. The reconstituted 6th Army, under Romanian command, was encircled and destroyed, further weakening Romania's already battered military forces. As Romania faced mounting losses in 1944, the inevitability of defeat dawned upon many, but Antonescu resisted surrender. Opposition leaders, along with King Michael I, a figurehead until then, launched a coup d'etat on August 23rd, ousting Antonescu and signaling a dramatic shift in Romania's position in the war. King Michael declared democratic restoration and formed a new government, demanding German withdrawal. When refused, Romanian forces expelled German troops, a swift reversal unanticipated by Germany. After aligning with the Allies, Romania contributed over 500,000 troops to the fight against their former Axis allies, and successfully reclaimed northern Transylvania by October. Despite heavy casualties, Romanian forces advanced into Central Europe. Concurrently, the USSR established a communist regime, culminating in a dominant communist victory by late 1946. The final peace treaty, signed on February 10, 1947, ceded Bessarabia and northern Bukovina to the USSR and southern Dobrogea to Bulgaria, while restoring northern Transylvania to Romania. Navigating shifting alliances, Romania's wartime choices, marked by anti-Semitism and Nazi collaboration, but also reflecting a genuinely difficult geopolitical position, led to significant consequences. The costly shift to the Allies culminated in post-war territorial losses and a transition to communist rule, reshaping Romania's political and social landscape for decades to come. Thanks again to the sponsor of today's video, Call of War. Enjoy rewriting history.
Wow, quite interesting. Having to switch sides in the middle of everything, you understand what I mean? But nobody ever talks about that. Listen, I never really understood that they were on one side and they switched to another side. Well, I never really heard about it because all you ever heard is see in like the Hollywood movies is them fighting with the Germans, which led to the way people think of Romania and places like that the last few decades, up until even now. Why wouldn't you want to know about these places? Why wouldn't you want to know about their contribution or not contribution in the wars and or the First and Second World War, so that we could fully understand and probably see why it is the way it is and it was the way it was. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Thank you very much to the person that sent this to me. Can't talk today. I just had lunch, so I'm probably sleepy. But I hope you guys enjoyed this. I will leave a link in the description to this video. I'll also leave a video, I think it's to this side, of another video I reacted to on Romania. You know what I mean? And please, let's try to understand each other, okay? Let's learn more about each other and try to understand each other so that we don't always have conflict. Even though that sometimes if you know each other, conflict still remains because of the past, you know what I mean? But hope you guys are having a great day. You all take care of each other, all right? Cool runnings.